Hello and welcome to What Culture. I'm Josh, joined by Ewan, because today we have new news on Todd Phillips' R-rated Joker movie, a phrase which doesn't get less weird the more I say it. Production seems to have been ramping up in the past couple of weeks. We have a September start date in New York City, which is doubling as Gotham. And of course, now we have news that Robert De Niro might be getting a supporting role, which makes sense considering this movie is co-produced by Martin Scorsese, a long-time collaborator. I don't really know where to begin on this, because it's weird in and of itself that this is actually being made, considering how many movies DC have in their slate. But it's also apparently going to kick off a brand new line of DC movies, either titled DC Black or DC Dark, going down a more R-rated route. But it's interesting that this is the one they're prioritizing, I think, Ewan, when the rest of the DCEU as a whole is so up in the air that they're kind of seemingly really confident in this. It has a lower budget, which has been confirmed, $55 million, which isn't strange for an R-rated movie. The original Deadpool had 58, so that's kind of in line, but obviously a huge step down from the $200 million movie. I
was going to say, because Marvel had their own similar banner a while back called Marvel Knights. They only had two films that were released under that, which was Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance and Punisher Warzone. And I thought that was a really clever way of kind of segmenting your more family-friendly pictures and your darker stories as well. So if DC, I can't talk today, evidently. If DC want to take that route, fair play to them, because obviously we all know how divisive the DCEU is in its current state, and if they want to kind of get back to the comic book movies that kind of put the movie making potential on the map. That sounds cool.
You know what? Originally, I wasn't, as everyone, I assume, when they heard that Todd Phillips was going to be in charge of a new Joker movie.
The Hangover guy.
That is the Hangover guy.
Right.
Set outside of the DCEU, trying to, but also alongside it, starring Joaquin Phoenix, which is a great choice, by the way, but R-rated, set in the 80s. It's going to sort of retell the Joker's origin story as a failed comedian.
I have a few theories about that. We'll get to them
Interesting. I think that sort of set up, while you don't want to lose too much of the mystique that defines the Joker, it's entirely on brand with Martin Scorsese being on board. I forgot it. The King of Comedy. King of Comedy is a great movie about a failed comedian who's ends up being kind of sociopathic and psychotic. So you can see the
segueing into The Killing Joke there. Because,
and then,
The Killing Joke was written in the late 80s. Yes. And that is interesting if they're making a Joker origin story. Say what you will about the idea of the less you know about this character, the better. There have been so many origin stories, and none of them have ever really been called definitive, because the Joker is constantly reinventing himself psychologically in his head. So if they're going that route, and it's setting it in the 80s, that makes perfect sense, because if they want to pay homage to that story, which I really hope they only take certain inspirations from the first half of it, because the present day stuff is a little bit awful. But the actual origin story stuff they do is really interesting, and I think De Niro may potentially be one of the mobsters who gets the original Joker involved in the Red Hood gang, and then that leads to his first confrontation with Batman. Or, who knows, maybe De Niro's voicing Batman.
Maybe. Who knows?
I don't know.
Because in the casting call for this part, because although De Niro is being eyed, he's not officially confirmed, but they're looking for a 65 to 75-year-old to play a character called Murray Franklin, if I'm getting this right, who I don't think has any ties to the comic books, but like you said, with De Niro's past history and, giving the scope of the story, that makes sense for an older gangster type.
I guess
who gets
as well, if
the
it's,
Red Hood in.
They use pseudonyms all the time for these casting calls as well, don't they? And I can't remember, the monsters in that book weren't particularly memorable to begin with anyway, but Robert De Niro could play Mob Guy, as he's done in that film.
It's not much of a stretch.
That other one.
Yeah, one that's literally coming out this year called The Irishman. Me too, that's going to be really good. But so we also know that the working title is Romeo. To me, this sounds more like one of those production titles that, gets so no one's going to the set all the time, like Comet or whatever. I doubt that's going to be the title, but it is taking influence from The Man Who Laughs as well, according to TV Line. Whether that means The Man Who Laughs comic book or The Man Who Laughs silent film, I don't know.
I mean, The Man Who Laughs, if they were going to, if they want to kind of get the best of both worlds from The Killing Joke and kind of Joker's origin stories, The Man Who Laughs comic actually makes a lot of sense, because, again, that kind of takes its premise from, if you've ever seen the Laughing Fish episode of Batman animated series, where Joker is he's got his laughing fish thing that he wants to sell, and then by midnight he's going to kill one person until he gets this license to sell fish. In The Man Who Laughs, they kind of take that same premise, but it's a little bit more darker. He's just killing mobsters for the sake of it.
Right.
or politicians rather. So yeah, that would make sense if they want to have the flashback element of the Killing Joke set in the 80s,
Yeah.
then bring it to the present and have the Joker like kind of carrying out these acts, and then maybe have a Batman cameo at the end. Yeah, that's interesting. But obviously, The Man Who Laughs silent film was, everyone knows that he was the inspiration for the Joker. You have that very famous image of his Gwyn playing.
Ooh.
He has that famous image of his, like, that really awful grin.
Yes.
We probably have behind us now. But yeah, that's cool. I'm kind of, both ways are interesting to me. I saw there were other theories that they wanted to do an actual Joker story that was just basically the original Man Who Laughs film. I'm not necessarily interested in that, even if it is quite surreal.
Reports so far in this movie is that it's going to be a very loose adaptation of The Killing Joke, like you said, which fits with sort of like the timeline and stuff. But yeah, obviously that's a very loose adaptation, so you could see them bringing elements in of like the Man Who Laughs comic as well as the Man Who Laughs film, and sort of making an amalgamation and try to create that definitive, like, true Joker origin story.
At least it's not Jared Leto.
At least, well, you know, we might still get that movie. That was another one that's in production. They've got so many movies in production. I don't know how many of them are actually going to get made. But by the sounds of it, this is the one we'll get first. And we'll know about the plot sooner rather than later because it starts filming in September. Anyway, this is all we know about Joaquin Phoenix and Todd Phillips' Joker movie. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. And as always, I've been Josh.
I've been Ewan.
And we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.